Do you know the one word that can stop you from handing a cop permission to search your whole car right now? If you say the wrong thing in the next 3 seconds, you can erase rights you already had. And once you give consent, it gets much harder for your lawyer to undo the damage later. Hit subscribe right now because what you're about to hear could save you from a search, a charge, or a very bad night on the side of the road. Before I reveal the exact words, like this video so you can find it fast when you actually need it under pressure, here's what you need to know before your heart starts racing. When a cop says, "Mind if I look around?" And that question sounds casual, friendly, and harmless, but it is not harmless. It is a trap wrapped in a polite voice. You're about to learn the first word you say, the full sentence you follow it with, and the question that tells you whether the stop should already be over, and the line you repeat if they keep pushing. Let me show you exactly how a simple traffic stop turns into a fishing trip. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern is always the same. The driver gets nervous, starts talking too much, says, I guess so, and now the officer has permission. Here's the reality. Your rights are strongest before you agree to anything, not after. Now let's talk about why this matters so much for you. Most people have no idea how fast a normal stop can change. You think you're just getting a warning for speeding. The officer checks your license, hands it back, and smiles. Then comes the soft question, "You don't have anything illegal in there, do you?" Then, "Mind if I take a quick look?" That is the moment you either protect yourself or open the door yourself. If you freeze, joke, or explain, you can talk your way into trouble. Cops are trained to ask in a calm voice because calm gets consent. You may think saying yes makes you look innocent. It doesn't. It just makes the search easier. Here's the reality. Your goal is not to win a popularity contest. Your goal is to protect your freedom and give up nothing for free. So when the officer asks to look around, your first move is simple. Your first word is no, not rude, not loud, just clear. Then you follow it with one full sentence. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that line. That sentence matters because consent is one of the easiest ways police get into your car without a warrant. If you hand them consent, you hand them the shortcut. This is 100% legal. You're allowed to refuse. Now notice what that line does for you. It stays calm, it stays respectful, and it leaves no room for confusion later. You're not arguing, you're not resisting, you're not making sudden moves, you are simply refusing permission. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it is clean and clear. If the officer searches anyway, your lawyer can later say you never agreed. That matters. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so sure. Then the search starts. The officer opens bags, checks under seats, and anything found becomes a huge problem. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then the officer knows you did not give free permission, and that can protect you later if the stop goes further. Watch what happens when you add fear to the mix. Drivers start talking. "I'm not a criminal. You can check if you want. I've got nothing to hide." That sounds innocent, but it helps the officer, not you. You never need to prove innocence by giving away privacy. Former police officers have confirmed this works. They know clear refusal changes the whole stop. It forces the officer to either end it or get real legal grounds. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Schneckloth v. Bustamante, the court said a consent search counts even without knowledge of rights. Plain English? Police do not have to educate you before you say yes. That means you must protect yourself. You must say no clearly. If you don't, the court may treat your nervous okay like valid consent. That is why your first word matters so much. And one more thing for you. Never say, "I guess." Never shrug. Never nod. Never step aside like you're giving permission without words. Consent can look messy on body cam, and messy helps the government. You want your refusal sharp and simple. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." That line is your wall. Watch what happens when you say it early. The whole tone changes because now the officer knows you know your rights. Have you ever been asked this during a stop, or do you think you'd freeze in the moment? Drop a comment below, because I want to know if you've seen this question in real life. Now let's get to the next move, because saying no is not always the end. Sometimes the officer keeps talking. They may hand back your license, hand back your registration, and then keep you standing there with more questions. This is where you use your second line. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Those exact words. Say them calmly, say them once. If they avoid the question, say it again. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A traffic stop is supposed to be about the traffic issue, your tag light, your speed, your lane change. It is not supposed to become a random crime hunt because the officer feels curious. This is 100% legal for you to ask. You are allowed to find out whether the stop is still active. Why does that question work so well for you? Because it forces clarity. If the officer says you're free to leave, you leave. Quietly, if the officer says you are detained, they are owning that choice. That matters too. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection once the traffic business should be done. You're making them put the stop in one lane or the other. Bad way. Most drivers say, yeah, sure, what else do you need? Then the stop drags on, more questions come, and the officer gets more chances to build suspicion. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to answer the real issue instead of just stretching the stop. Let me show you exactly why timing matters. In Rodriguez v. United States, the Supreme Court ruled on stretching stops. They said police cannot stretch a traffic stop longer just to investigate other crimes, without real reasonable suspicion. Plain English, they cannot keep you there just to go fishing once the traffic job is done. But in Ohio v. Robinette, the court said police do not have to tell you that you're free to go before asking for consent. That is huge for you. It means the officer can act like the stop is still rolling, even when the main reason is over. So you ask the question yourself. And yes, the officer may act annoyed. That does not matter. Your tone matters. Stay cool. Stay still. Keep your hands where they can see them. You are not there to debate case law on the shoulder. You are there to protect your space. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? That line stops the blur. It stops the gray area. It makes the moment clean. Watch what happens when drivers do not ask it. They stand there, smiling, making small talk, trying to be polite. 5 minutes later, a dog is on the way. Backup arrives, and now everybody is acting like this was always a criminal stop. Your question can cut that off early. And if the officer really does have legal grounds to keep you, fine. At least now you know where you stand. And you did not volunteer extra time for free. Your third move matters when the officer says, step out of the car. A lot of drivers panic here. They think stepping out means they already lost. Not true. Listen closely because this is critical. The officer can usually order you out during a lawful stop. Do not argue that point on the roadside. You comply physically, but you do not give up consent. Here's exactly what you say. I will step out, but I do not consent to any searches. Word for word. Then you step out slowly and safely. This move protects you in two ways. First, it keeps you from turning a search issue into a resisting issue. That is a terrible trade for you. Second, it keeps your refusal on the record. If body cam is rolling, your words matter. If dash cam is rolling, your words matter. If the officer later says you seemed cooperative, your words matter. You want it clear that you obeyed commands, but you never agreed to a search. Bad way. Most drivers say, why? What did I do? No, I'm not getting out. Then the stop gets tense, the officer gets more aggressive, and your situation can spiral fast. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will step out, but I do not consent to any searches. Then you stay safe, you avoid a resisting charge, and you keep your legal position strong. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings too. In Pennsylvania v. Mims, the court allowed ordering drivers out. Plain English, you usually do have to get out if told for safety reasons. But in Arizona v. Gant, the court limited. When police can search a vehicle after an arrest. Plain English, they do not get an automatic free pass to tear through your car just because you are out of it. That is why your words still matter after you step out. Let me show you exactly how officers use this. They get you outside the car, they separate you from your doors, they start chatting, they look inside with flashlights, then they try again. So you don't mind if I take a quick look, right? That is your cue to repeat the same line. I do not consent to any searches. Short, calm, same every time. Do not get creative, do not explain, do not say, if you really need to. Keep it tight. And if they search anyway, do not touch them, do not block them, and do not try to be a roadside lawyer. Your fight is later, not there. Your job is to survive the stop and preserve the issue. Former police officers have confirmed this works because calm refusal is harder to twist than nervous chatter. You want the video to show one thing. You complied, but you never consented. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. Stay with me, because this last tactic is critical. After you refuse the search, the officer may change tactics. Now the questions come fast. Where are you coming from? Why are you so nervous? You got weed, pills, guns, cash. This is where you shut the door with your mouth. Here's exactly what you say. I choose to remain silent, and I do not consent to any searches. Memorize that too. You can say it in a calm voice. You can say it once, then stop filling the silence. Most drivers think silence looks guilty. That is backwards. Talking gives the officer pieces to work with. Your shaking voice, your mixed up timeline, your joke that lands wrong. Tiny details become suspicious behavior. If you keep feeding the conversation, you keep feeding the case. Bad way. Most drivers ramble and get nervous. Good way. Smart drivers say, I choose to remain silent and I do not consent to any searches. This comes from Supreme Court rulings like Berghus versus Tompkins. If you want silence, you must claim it clearly. Watch what happens when you combine this with the first three lines. First, you refuse consent. Then you ask if you are detained or free to leave. Then you repeat non-consent if ordered out. Then you stop answering fishing questions. That is a strong script for you. Legal experts agree. This cuts off the three things officers use most: consent, delay, and your own words. Silence does not mean disrespect. You can still be polite and hand over your documents when required. You are being disciplined. That discipline is what keeps a normal stop from turning into a long search. Schneckloth vis Bustamante means your yes counts, even if you didn't know you could say no. Rodriguez vis United States means the stop cannot be stretched longer without real legal reason. Arizona vis Gant means police do not get an automatic full car search just because you got pulled out. These lines are powerful because they fit the real rules. Clear words beat confused words every time. Now for a real-world walkthrough. You get pulled over at night for a stop sign violation. The officer takes your license. A few minutes later, he gives a warning and asks to look around. Wrong way. You laugh and say, "Sure, go ahead." He finds something you forgot was there. Right way. You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." He keeps chatting. You ask, "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" He tells you to step out. You say, "I will step out, but I do not consent to any searches." He probes with more questions. You say, "I choose to remain silent." That is it. No speech, no excuses, no roadside debate. Next week I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed coming from your car. Subscribe right now because that one gets people searched every single day. Smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.